What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, back with some more Draft League content. This time, bringing you guys a draft analysis for another league I decided to take part in, the BBL, the Bandless Battlers League. So I think this is the first full-on Uber's Wi-Fi draft I'm doing for the most part. I've done plenty of semi-Ubers drafts in the past, but I think this is the very first one where I'm doing like a full-on Uber's draft, which is pretty exciting from the Wi-Fi perspective. My knowledge of Ubers is a little bit iffy, but I do know like the strongest mons are definitely available in the higher tiers, so I definitely wanted to at least try out Uber's Wi-Fi at least once. Especially considering that Generation 8 is winding down. My run in my last league in Pack did not end the way I wanted it to, obviously. And for the most part, I just wanted to like try to like get myself associated in other types of like draft sort of stuff, as opposed to just doing straight up standard all the time. So yeah. So really excited to try out some of these Pokemon that I ended up drafting for this team. So the way how the draft works for BBL, you get 120 points to draft between 10 to 12 Pokemon, and they do have some restrictions for the Ubers, where you can only draft a common, where your points can only come up to 42 points of your Ubers. So if you draft a Uber that's like 24 points, then the only other Uber you can get is 18 points or less. And they have their own separated tiers between what Pokemon are considered Ubers and what Pokemon are not considered Ubers. So they had their own distinction in terms of what Pokemon makes up those 42 points and what Pokemon doesn't. So yeah. With that being said, let's jump right into the team and go through what I drafted, why I drafted, all that stuff. Granted, some of the stuff I don't really know off the top of my head, but some of them, my Ubers, or Uber as you'll see, is one Pokemon I did want to try, but basically it just came down to take the best mon available, because basically I had the 13th pick out of 16 coaches, so I was near the back end of the draft, which I don't mind. But granted, since I'm so far in the back, I don't get like I don't get to try out stuff like Mewtwo, Yveltal, stuff like that. So basically, my draft plan was whatever was the best mon available to me at pick 13, just take that and go from there. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first mon I ended up drafting with the 13th pick ended up being HoHo. So, like I said earlier, with this team, I decided instead of trying to force the issue and trying to see what worked best with my playstyle, I figured just take the best mon available and go from there. And HoHo is fairly versatile in the fact that it can function both as a defensive and offensive mon at the same, and depending on the role. On top of that, with the introduction of heavy duty boots, being 4 times beat to rock does not hinder it whatsoever. And on top of that, having a great ability in regenerator is just fantastic for a mon like HoHo, especially with solid special bulk. Can be on the offensive with Sacred Fire. Nice coverage with Brave Bird, and then Earthquake for rock types that are resistant to its dual stab. But yeah, it's fairly solid functioning both offensively and defensively. It has nice special bulk. The only real downside to HoHo somewhat is the fact that I will be forced to run heavy duty boots a lot, if not all the time. And I'm going to have to be careful about switching HoHo in directly on Pokemon that may carry knockoff to get rid of its boots. But on top of that, though, I still feel like HoHo is just a fairly solid Pokemon in general, especially considering that the versatility it can function as both offensively and defensively. And I figured I'd start my team with something that can fulfill the role of being a versatile mon and not just stuck to being one specific set. So yeah, so moving on, my round 2 pick, I ended up going with Lando T, and for the most part, this is the first time I'm ever drafting Landorus Darien. I've used Lando T in the past, but this is the first time I'm actually drafting Lando T. Granted, at this point, I could have potentially gotten a Pokemon like Garchomp as opposed to Lando T, but the reason for getting Lando T instead was 2 reasons. One, Garchomp was considered an Uber, and it was 17 points, and I figured as great as the synergy was between HoHo and Garchomp, I valued Lando T a little bit more for 2 specific reasons. One, the setup opportunities between Landorus and Garchomp, while different, depending on the Pokemon, Landorus does give me something slightly bit more. Granted, Garchomp has SD Scale Shot. Landorus can also function as a Stealth Rocker, a Pivot with U-Turn, a knockoff user, and more importantly, I figured with Ubers, I did value Intimidate a lot more as opposed to Rough Skin. Not saying that Garchomp cannot be versatile. Garchomp can be versatile as well, but I wanted something versatile, a Stealth Rocker, and on top of that, Landorus was 1 point cheaper and was not considered an Uber, so it didn't cost me any points for my Uber, so I still had the opportunity to get another 18 or 17 point Mon, since 17 was the lowest ranked Ubers in the draft pool. So yeah, Lando T, very, very solid. Can be Stealth Rocks, can be offensive with SD, can be Rock Polish, good supporting options, U-Turn, Knockoff. And just a very solid Pokemon in general. It may look counterintuitive that I do have 2 flying types on my team, but fortunately for me, they do not really share weaknesses aside from water. And I ended up patching the water weakness up fairly, very quickly with my next few picks. So yeah, that is the Landorus Darien. So round number 3, I ended up snagging up Tapu Fini with this pick, and this was probably one of the Pokemon I was hoping would come back to me, basically because of the fact that it provides my team with another defogger. Like, my first 3 Pokemon all have access to defog, but on top of that, Tapu Fini is fairly versatile as well. Can be both defensively, can be used both defensively and offensively. Supports my Landorus and my HoHo fairly well, and the fact that it does give my team a water resist, it provides my team with a fairy type, and for the most part, it's also very, very nice between having sets like Calm Mind that can be more offensive and run like Trick Choice Scarf, that could be great utility sets, utility moves with like Knockoff, Nature's Madness. Like, it's very, very versatile. And the typing is very, very good. It's a very, very solid, bulky Pokemon that I like to use. And for the most part, it just matches up really, really well with my team. Has great synergy with HoHo and Landorus, and really, really happy to have picked this thing up with my round 3 selection. So, not much else to say about Tapu Fini, just very, very solid mon in general. So moving on, round number 4. I ended up stacking up Tangroff with my next pick, and this provides my team with not only another water resist, but also provides my team with a ground resist to not rely solely on HoHo and Landorus to act as a ground immunity. But on top of that, Tangroff has a bunch of versatility as well, between being able to be both physically defensive, especially defensive with like Assault Vest. It gets access to another knockoff user, so I have a 3rd knockoff user. But yeah, Tangroff is just very, very strong, very, very bulky, can check a multitude of mons at once. So and of course, it gives my team another Regenerator mon to go along with HoHo. So yeah, just very solid Pokemon. Nice general pivot, very, very solid at what it does. And not much else to say, to be honest. Like, Tangroff just does Tangroff things. It's just very, very bulky, can be very, very annoying for certain builds. And yeah, really excited to try out Tangroff one more time. So Moving on, round number 5, I ended up going with a really odd Pokemon, and I'll talk about it in a minute. So, as you see, round 5, I have Alolan Ninetales. Now, granted, what ended up happening with this team was Alolan Ninetales I did not draft round 5. So this came at an exchange during after the draft when there was a grace period. So originally on this team I had Tyranitar instead of Alolan Ninetales, but as I went through the rest of my draft, Tyranitar started fitting in less and less, and I ended up trading it, and then I used the points afterwards to drop it in the traded mon and then pick up Alolan Ninetales and another Pokemon to make up for it. So the reason why Alolan Ninetales is on this draft is basically because at the end of the draft, my team was fairly slow for the most part. I didn't really have speed outside of one Pokemon, and I wanted to have at least one Pokemon, or at the more than one Pokemon faster than 100 base speed. And Alolan Ninetales was one of those Pokemon. Granted, it's not the strongest Pokemon in the world, and it's kind of one-dimensional, but it does provide my team with another fairy type, yes, but it also gives me an ice type. It also gives me access to Snow Warning, and more importantly, I do have the option now of Aurora Veil, just to allow me potential setup options with potential Double Dance Lando T or Calm Mind Tapu Fini. Granted, they don't really need it, but it is fairly nice to have that option in the back. So yeah. Nothing much else to say about the Alolan Ninetales. It does struggle against Steel types, but I do have a HoHo and a Landorus that both can take on Steel types fairly easily, so I'm not too concerned about any potential Steels I may have to face in the future. So, yeah, that is Alolan Ninetales. So, moving on now, round number 6. I ended up snagging my second Uber, per se, and that Uber ended up being a round 6 Mew. So, while it may seem like daunting that, yeah, you got words, that I got a round 6 Mew, but the thing with Mew is it's a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say controversial, but compared to Ubers that are higher point value than it, Mew can struggle at times, but it does provide my team not only with second type, but it also gives me the option to pretty much bring whatever I want on this Mew. It is the Jack of all trades and master of none. I can pretty much make Mew whatever I need my team to be, whether it be a sweeper, a bulky support mon, nasty plot, dragon dance. The possibilities are endless, and hopefully I can use Mew to the best of my abilities for this team. But overall, it provides me with a lot of more versatility. Giving me another stealth rocker. I can be a spiker if I need to, toxic spikes, and yeah, it just has a multitude of coverage and sets to play around with. So yeah, really excited to be using Mew for this draft. So moving on, round number 7, I ended up snagging up Scolipede with my next pick. So this goes into the part of I needed speed. My team was slow, and I needed something on the team that at least cracked base 110s, and Scolipede was the answer that filled my team. It gives my team a bug and poison type. It does struggle a bit with steel types, but like I said, my first 2 Pokemon handles those steel types very well, and it provides my team with another potential win con. Scolipede is just pretty solid for getting it round 7. It may struggle a bit at times depending on the matchup, but it does provide my team with something it lacks. It has a speed control, it has speed boost, and overall it's just a very solid, it can be a very solid cleaner if the situation does call for it, and it can make a potential solid win con in certain matchups, or if I'm able to play it right. But regardless, I am really excited to try out Scolipede again for this team, and of course having that grounded poison to block potential toxic spikes is always nice to have. So yeah, that is the Scolipede. Then moving on to my last 4 picks, I believe. Yeah. So round number 8, I ended up snagging up Goodra. Granted, my team didn't really need a dragon type. All the dragon types I was looking at earlier in the draft were taken already, which I was bummed about. I wanted to use something like Kiron with this team, but that got taken. I could have even looked at potentially getting a Lottie, but that got taken too. So I had to think of something, some sort of like dragon type that wasn't really hindered by Misty Terrain from Tapu Fini. And the one mon that did come to mind was Goodra, mainly because of the fact that Goodra, while being a pure dragon type and with Misty Terrain up being counterintuitive since dragon moves get weakened in Misty Terrain, that doesn't really apply that much to Goodra, on the fact that it has it's good special bulk, and on top of that, it does give my team a grass immunity with Sap Sipper. I can even use Gooey if I really want to be cheeky. Hydration, I don't really see myself using that much since I don't really have that rain. But Goodra is a dragon that's not really affected that much by Misty Terrain. In fact, it even helps it out, considering it doesn't have to worry about being toxic. And for a dragon type, it also has plenty of versatility in its move set between fire, ice, water, and even if I wanted to do it, the ability to run like an acid armor body press set if I so choose to run that set. But it has the tools to go physical or special, and yeah, it may not be the most wow factor dragon type, but it does fit my team, considering that I did have some other stuff I wanted to patch out, mainly having the ability to have an additional fire resist to ease the pressure off of Tapu Fini to take the fire hits as well as possible. And of course, the grass immunity is never bad to have as well as the additional resistance to water and whatnot, and Misty Terrain helps it out because it doesn't have to worry about being status. So yeah, that is the Goodra. Then moving on, my round 9 pick. Yeah, so round 9 I picked up the Elder exclusive, and a Pokemon I've taken on my team before, but I've never used it to the point where I ended up dropping it plenty of times, which really sucks. So yeah, round 9. I finally drafted, and I'm keeping Regigigas on my team. So yes, I can finally say that I am not going to draft Regigigas and then drop it for something else. This Pokemon is staying on the team. And just to go back to the Scolipede, have also given me Toxic Spikes as well. It also pairs up fairly well with my drafts, just because of the fact that I felt the need for a ghost immunity was fairly necessary on my team, considering my team did not have one, and I wanted something a cheap ghost immunity at the very least that could still be functionable. And the cheapest thing that I wanted to try out, and it dawned on me that I wanted to try out Regigigas, so I picked it up. But yeah, it's hindered by slow start, yes, but it still has other solid options in terms of giving me another user of knockoff, which is never a bad thing to have. It also has access to body press, it gets protect, it gets rest, but it's going to be counterintuitive with the Misty Terrain, but it does have protect to stall out the extra turns of slow start if I need to. So yeah, despite slow start hindering Regigigas, it can still function very well as a ghost response that I desperately needed for my team because I did not have one. So yeah, nothing much else to say. We got big bad Regigigas on the squad. Hopefully Exodia is here to do some work for the draft. So yeah, moving on, we have 2 more picks for this team. So first off, I don't have a steel type, and I was really struggling to find one that actually fit my team, because I didn't really have that many points left. But I did settle on one. Granted, I don't know how many times it will actually play a role in this for my team, but I felt it felt cool at the time. I wanted to be different, so yeah. So I picked up Toga tomorrow with my round 10 pick. So yeah, like I said, I needed a steel type, and while it's not the first thing that came to my mind, Togedemaru can actually do something. It provides my team, like I said, I need a steel, and the electric typing is also pretty good, but on top of that, it gives my team an ice resist, or a freeze dry check, so to speak, that's not Richie Gigas. It gives me another electric immunity thanks to Lightning Rod. It can be Iron Barbs if I really want to. It also has access to Sturdy. I can be, it also gets Spiky Shield. It's not the strongest Pokemon, yes, but it also gives my team another thing it didn't have before, which was Wish support. So yeah, Togedemaru gets Wish. I can do Wish, Spiky Shield, Momentum with U-Turn, and then something like Iron Head or even Zing Zap. So yeah, fairly bulky Pokemon. If utilized correctly, it's like one of the premier Pokemon in PU at the moment, so hopefully I do them proud by picking up Togedemaru with this draft. So yeah, so that is my So that's a Togedemaru set for the team, fulfilling the role of the electric and more importantly the steel type for the draft. And then finally, with my very last Mon, I ended up snagging up Pangoro, and Pangoro fulfills my last role that I needed. I did not have a dark type, so I wanted to have the additional ability to have the psychic immunity. Granted, my team is still pretty susceptible to opposing psychic type Pokemon without having to like make Mew super bulky, but Pangoro provides my team with the fighting type and the dark type. It also gets access to stuff like Parting Shot for momentum. Not the bulkiest Pokemon in the world, but it does have its niche. Between solid abilities like Mold Breaker and Iron Fist if I really wanted to go that route. And then it can also function as like a Scarfer, or even I can even try to make this thing bulky to take specific hits if I really want to go that route. But yeah, Pangoro fulfills the role of the fighting and dark type that I lacked for this team, and it also provides my team with some slight priority with Bullet Punch, which was the other thing that my team did not really have on the draft outside of like putting a priority move on the Mew. But yeah, with all that being said, that is a team for the Miami Malamarlins for Season 9 of the BBL. I hope you guys did enjoy the team. Let me know what you think about the team in the comments down below. Of course, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And be sure to check out the other coaches taking part in the BBL. So yeah, that is going to be it from me. This is definitely going to be a fun team to try out, and hopefully I'm able to put in some work with it. So I hope you guys are excited as I am, and until the next time, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.